So the Veda is the prime source of all philosophical speculations of the Astic systems, such as Nyaya Vaisheshik, Śaṅkara Yoga, and Mimamsa. We should limit our discussion on Mimamsa system, especially on Uttar Mimamsa system. Now, the Mimamsa, the word Mimamsa refers both to the Purva and the Uttar Mimamsa. The entire Mimamsa system is deeply rooted in the Veda. So, while interpreting a verse of Sambandha Bhartik of Sureshwara Acharya, Anandagiri said, Mimamsa Sangakastarka Sarva Veda Samudbhavaha Sovat Veda Rumakshipta Kashtambu Lavanadivat. The meaning is, if a piece of wood is left in a salt mine, Ruma means salt mine, then in time it becomes salt, or it transforms into salt. Similarly, the Mimamsa system is so deeply rooted in the Veda that it is practically identical with the Vedic thoughts. The Mimamsa system has two major branches, the Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. Maharishi Jaimini has propounded the school of Purva Mimamsa, and the propounder of Uttar Mimamsa Shastra is Maharishi Badaraya. The main objective of the entire Mimamsa system, that is both Purva and Uttar Mimamsa system, is to give a coherent account of the scriptural statements. But the perspectives from which they look upon the Veda are very different from each other. The Purva Mimamsa concentrated on the Karmakandya Veda, or the ritualistic part of the Veda, whereas the Uttar Mimamsakas concentrates on the Upanishadic part of the Veda, which is also known as Jnanakanda. According to Purva Mimamsaks, the main objective of the Veda is to lay down certain vidhis and nishedhas. These injunctions tells us what are we supposed to do and what are we not supposed to do. They also describe various Vedic rites and actions. By performing it, one may enjoy various kinds of aihik and paralokik shukhas. Whereas by performing forbidden actions, one may experience these worldly or otherworldly pains. The entire Jnanakanda, this is the view of Purva Mimamsa system, that the entire Jnanakanda is nothing but Arthavad. It does not have its own validity. The Upanishadic part of the Veda derives its pramana in related to the Karmakanda of Veda. So, in Purva Mimamsa, the entire Veda is Sadhyapar. But this view is not accepted by Uttar Mimamsa system. They believe that the entire Veda is Siddhapar. They converge to establish a single reality, and that is Atman or Brahman. Now, this Uttar Mimamsa is also known as Vedanta. So first we have to say what is Vedanta. Literally, Vedanta means the end of the Veda, or the end part of the Veda. The Veda has reached a stage of culmination or anta in the Upanishad, and that is why Upanishad has most appropriately won the name Vedanta. It is obvious that the Upanishads remain at the end of the three sections of the Veda, maybe in the end portion of the mantra, maybe in the end portion of the Brahman, or at the last portion of Aranya. But there are some exceptions. We are not going to explain it. Owing to some exceptions, it is finally stated by scholars of Vedanta that Vedantas mean the chief import of Vedas. So Vedanta does not mean the end of the Veda. Rather, it means the chief purport of the Veda. Upanishads are the Mukhya Tatparya of Veda. So Veda is explained by Jāśkācārya in three graded interpretations as relating to sacrifice or Yogapokkha, Devata or a deity or Devata Paksha, and self or Adhyatma Paksha. Self is the ultimate reality which is propounded in the Upanishads. Supreme knowledge can be attained through Upanishads. So, Upanishads are to be accepted as supreme knowledge or Praman. Vedanta Sara says, you know that Vedanta Nama Upanishad Pramanam Tadupakarini Shariraka Sutradini cha. Thus, the Upanishad, along with Shariraka Sutra and its commentaries, form the essence of Vedanta, which, as the cream of the Veda, brings forth the philosophy of Uttarmimamsa. Now, there are more than 11 subsystems based on more than 11 commentaries on Brahma Sutra. They differ in respect of the nature of Brahman, of the nature of world, of the nature of Jiva or individual, even also of the relation between Jiva and Brahman. You may have a look on the screen. We have provided the names of the bhashyas along with the authors of some of the prominent subsystems of Vedanta. The followers of Advaita Vedanta believe that the seed of Advaita Vada may be traced in the Veda. The germ can be found firstly in the mantras. Yashkacharya clearly mentioned in his Nirukti that each and every mantra shows capability of being expressed from the standpoint of Advaita. Then it becomes more prominent in Brahmanas and in the after that in the Aranyakas. Finally, in the Upanishads, we find the concept of Advaita Tattva reaches culmination. Though the entire Vedantic tradition can be traced from the Vedas and the Upanishads, no one can deny the fact that a full-fledged philosophical system of Vedanta started with the Sutra work of Maharishi Vadarayana, which definitely admits various interpretations, including that of Advaita Vedanta.
Preetam,
yes, please.
yeah, are you sharing the screen? We can't see
Yes.
it. We can't see the screen.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, this is my 7th slide.
Okay.
Okay. Acharya Śaṅkara is certainly not the expounder of Advaita Vedānta. The Advaita tradition traces its inspiration to God himself as Sriman Narayana, or some says as Shadashiva. I may refer to my Mangalacharan shloka for this purpose. Shadashiva samarambham Śaṅkarācārya madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. So, Vande Guru Paramparam, salutation to the lineage, starts from Shadashiva Samarambham, starting from Lord Shadashiva. Śaṅkarācārya Madhyamam, keeping Acharya Śaṅkara in the middle position, and Asmadacharya Paryantam, and counting up to my immediate teacher. So, Sadashiv reveals the wisdom of Advaita to Brahma, the creator. Brahma imparted to Vasishtha. This wisdom was handed down at first as Vamsa Parampara. The Shishya Parampara started with Shuka and Gaurapadacharya. In the succession list of the early acharyas of Advaita, the names are given in the following manner. The order is like this: from Sadashiva to Brahma, the creator; from Brahma to Vasishtha, who is the Manasaputra of Brahma; from Vasishtha to Shakti, who eldest son of Vasishtha; from Shakti to Parashara, then from Parashara to Vyasa, then from Vyasa to Shuka. From Shuka to his Shishya Gaurapada, from Gaurapada to Govindapada, from Govindapada to Acharya Śaṅkara, and then to his four well-known pupils, Padmapadacharya, Hastamalakacharya, Totokacharya, and Shureshwaracharya. Okay. Now, before knowing the cardinal doctrine of Advaita Vedanta, we need to know the meaning of the word Advaita. Now, Advaita is the negation of Dvaita. So, we have to know the meaning of Dvaita to know the meaning of Advaita. Dvaita is a system of philosophy in which one supreme entity, Brahman, is united either with two dvi entities, which is also real bhava. Thus, dvi, ether, dvita. The attribute that is bhava of being united with two is dvaita, which is formed with the additional suffix on. So, dvita, on makes dvaita. Thus, in Dvaitavada, there are three real entities as Brahman, individual, and the world. Actually, it is very strange that even Indian scholars have translated Dvaitavada as dualism. Advaitavada is the negation of Dvaitavada. That is, here Brahman is not united with anything, neither with individual nor with the world. Shureshwaracharya, in his Brihadaranya Bhashyavartika says, Dvidhetam dvitam ityahu, Didhetam dvitam ityahu stadbhava dvaitam uchyate, tan nishedhena cha advaitam pratyagvastava vidhiyate. Since Advaitavada is the negation of Dvaitavada, it comes to the proposition that in Advaitavada, only Brahman is real, the entire world is false, and the individual is not different from Brahman. We may refer to Brahmanama Bali Mala of Acharya Śaṅkara, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitha Jiva Brahmaiva Napara, Idam Evat Shastram Vedanta Dindima. So Vedanta Dindima, the trumpet call of Vedanta is that the correct or infallible lesson continues the three cardinal doctrines. Brahman is true, the world is false, and the individual is identical and non-different from Brahman. Now, the existence of ultimate reality can be established by Lakshan and Pramana, because there is a famous saying, Lakshana Pramana Bhyam hi Vastu Siddhi. The existence of an object can be established by offering definition and by supplying proofs. So, first of all, we will discuss the definition of Brahman. After that, we will try to give proof in favor of the existence of Brahman. Now, before discussing the definition of Brahman, we should say something, we should say some word on the derivative meaning of the word Brahman. Actually, the nature of Brahman can be derived by, or can be ascertained by its derivation. Vachaspati, in his famous work Bhamati, says that बृहत्वात् बृंहनत्वात् आत्मैव ब्रह्मेति गीयते स च आकीटपतंगेभ्य आच देवर्षिभ्य प्राणभित मात्रस्य इदंकरास्पदेभ्य देहेन्द्रिय मनोबुद्धि विषयेभ्य विवेकेन अहम इति असंदिग्धम अविपर्यस्त अपरक्षानुभव सिद्ध. So brihatvat bringhanatvat, the word Brahman is derived as brihamanin or bringhamanin, brihatvat bringhanatvat. The root briha, what is the meaning of the root word briha? The root briha means to grow, to expand, to increase, to progress, etc. Now, there being no restriction in growth, it is to be understood to mean something with unlimited and maximum growth in all dimensions of space, time, and object. By the word growth, none should think that Brahman was originally of a lesser dimension and that it grew later. But on the contrary, the growth is ever present in Brahman. To put it more clearly, Brahman is present in all region, in all times, and in all places. Secondly, Vachaspati says, Brihatvat Bringhanatvat, the next word is Atmaiva Brahmeti Giyate. So Vachaspati says, Atmaiva Brahmeti Giyate, self alone is Brahman. So Brahman and Atman are identical. We can show it by derivation. Atman can be derived from any of the four roots as ap, that means to get or reach, ada, to take or to accept, ad, to eat or to devour, and at, to move without any break. Thus, the word will mean something that reaches all, something that accepts all in his fold, something that devours all, something that remains and flows constantly without any break, means continues to exist eternally. All these meanings have been codified in a verse of Brihadaranyaka Bhashya Bharti, Yachapnati yada datte yachapti vishayaniha yachasya shantato bhavas tasmat atmeti tathyate. All these are equally applicable to Brahman. The scholars have identified Brahman with Atman. Now, the third thing is Brahman is inexpressible. An object may be expressed with the help of its attribute or with action or with class. I mean, class means universal property, or with relation. But Brahman is devoid of all these things. So Brahman cannot be expressed through words. Yad vachanabhyupaditam yeno bhagabhyudyate. This is a mantra from Kenopanishad. Again, Taittiriya Shruti says, Yato vacha nivartante. I can refer to a story. In Brahma Sutra 3.2.17, Śaṅkaracharya refers to an incident where the disciple Bashkali asked his preceptor Badva about Brahman. And the preceptor remained silent in spite of persistent requests of the disciple for articulate speech about the nature of Brahman. But the teacher finally said, Brahma khalutvang tu na bijanashi, avachanena eva brahma pravacha. So I am speaking, but you are unable to understand. In fact, the teacher remains silent in order to show that Brahman is calm, quiet, and serene. Again, we may refer a celebrated verse of Dakshinamurti Stotra, where Acharya Śaṅkara says, Chitrang Batatarumule Briddha Shishya Gurur Yuva Gurustu Maunang Bakshanang Shishyastu Chinna Shanshaya. That means it is strange that Chitrang Batatarumule, under a banyan tree, Briddha Shishya, the disciples are senior or the disciples are old, whereas Guru Yuva, but the teacher is young. And Gurustu Maunam Bakshanam, the exposition by Guru is silent, but Shishyastu Chinna Shanshaya, but the doubts of the disciple disappears. So there being none of the 5 attributes as Rupa, Rasha, Gandha, Sparsha, Shabda, Brahman cannot be grasped through the sense organs. And that is why Brahman is beyond reach of mind also, because mind knows only the object which is presented before it through senses. Paratantram Bahirmana. Thus, the Upanishad cannot speak of Brahman in a positive way, but only by neti, negatively, as having no attribute. Accordingly, the Vedantic teachers maintain that Brahman is not ascertainable by speech nor by mind. Avang manaso gochar. The fourth one is, the Upanishad has maintained that Brahman is ekam eva advitiyam. So ekam, one, eva, only, and advitiyam, without a second. Śaṅkaracārya and other scholars have unfolded the significance of these 3 words. Brahman is one, since the possibility of another of the same class is denied. It is Shajatiya Bheda Nishedha. And it is denied by the expression ekam. Brahman is one integrated whole having no parts. Thus, the possibility of any difference among the limbs or the parts is also denied by the expression eva. So it is Sagata Bheda Nishedha. Again, in the whole of the universe, Brahman is only one single entity, and beyond Brahman, there is nothing true. This is expressed by the expression Advitiya. So it is Vijatiya Bheda Nishedha. These 3 types of negations are exemplified with the help of the illustration of trees. In Panchadashi, it has been said, Bhikkhasya Shvagata Veda Patra Pushpa Phaladibihi Bhikshantarat Sajatiyo Vijatiyo Shiladibihi. But it is already said that Brahman is inexpressible by words, and thus an experienced and powerful teacher can transmit his experience in a student of high ability. But this sort of transmission may not be possible in many cases. So there must be an easier method of teaching Brahman when the teacher and the taught will not remain silent. The student will ask in articulate speech and the teacher will answer in details for the comprehension of the student. It is true that Brahman has no attribute, action, class, or relation, but its nature may be maintained, although inaccurately, but following the accepted procedure. There are 2 procedures. Firstly, we can teach Brahman by Swarupa Lakshana, and after that, we can teach Brahman by Tatastha Lakshana. Now, the definitions are of 3 types. Swalakshana, Swarupa Lakshana, or essential definition. Second one is Vishesha Lakshana, and the third one is Upalakshana or Tatastha Lakshana or accidental definition. Shangshep Sharirak says, Lakshasya Lakshanamiha Trividham Prasidhyam Loke Swalakshanam Amusha Vishesha Lakshanam Ba Jadva Upalakshanam Imani Cha Lakshanena Vyabarnayami Prithakevatu Tat Pratite. Now, of these lakshanas, Visheshana Lakshana is not applicable to Brahman because it defines a thing with help of Visheshana or qualities. But Brahman is devoid of qualities. Hence, the nature of Brahman as revealed in the scriptures cannot be followed through, can be followed through the demarcation of two types of lakshana or demarcation, that is Swarupa Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. Now, Swarupa Lakshana, what is a Swarupa Lakshana? That which, being the very nature of a thing, helps in distinguishing it from other objects is called Swarupa Lakshana. Swarupam Sadvyavartakam. For example, the essential definition of Akasha is Kham Chidram. That means an open space. Or the essential definition of cow is Shashnadivatta. That is having a dewlap. Expressions like Sat, Chit, Ananda, Ananta, etc., as given by the scriptures in connection to the nature of Brahman, help us to ascertain the absolute. These expressions continues the essence of Brahman. Not only that, this definition help us to distinguish Brahman from the world which is non-real, non-intelligent, and non-bliss. Now, what is the meaning of the word Sat? What is the meaning of the word Chit, Ananta, and Ananda? We have to discuss it. As distinct from, first we will discuss the meaning of the word Sat. As distinct from Anrita or false, which undergoes changes, the word Sat will mean the nature of which never changes. Brahman is defined as Sat in the sense that its nature is never contradicted, abadhya. That means uncontradicted existence is what is called Sat or Brahman. Śaṅkarācārya defines Satyam in his Taittiriyopanishad Bhashya as Yadrupena Yanishchitam Tadrupam na Vyabhicharati Tat Satyam. So, Yadrupena Yanishchitam, if the content of a knowledge is known for certain and is never changed or never contradicted, then the knowledge along with the object is true. On the other hand, Yadrupena Yanishchitam Tanrupam Vyabhicharat Tat Anritam. So, if the content of a knowledge known for certain is subsequently changed, then the knowledge along with the object is false. This may be illustrated as, for example, somebody says that he is definitely seeing a piece of rope. And if under no circumstances it is proved to be otherwise, it is true. On some other occasion, suppose a person said, I am sure that I am seeing a snake. If by drawing near, it is found that it is found to be a piece of rope, this unstable knowledge is false. Since there is a deviation as to the content of the cognition, that is from a snake to a piece of rope, so this cognition is false. And not only the cognition is false, the object is also false. So when a piece of rope is misconceived as a snake, we say that the snake is false and the rope is true. Similarly, when from a distance in a feeble light, we see a piece of silver on a shell, we call the silver false and the shell true. Now, the basic question is whether this rope or shell is really true. and Advaiti knows that the world is false. Thus, this rope or shell must be false, although we have maintained these objects to be true. The problem is solved by showing threefold of reality or threefold of truth as pratibhashika, vyavaharika, and paramarthika. By seeing a rope on a lawn of a residence, we may make a mistake and know it as a snake. Till the time of my knowledge, that is pratibhasha of a snake, this snake is deemed true. The next moment, under a powerful light, we reject the knowledge of snake and also the object snake. Then the rope is continued as true. But how long? The moment a person attains supreme knowledge, Brahmajnāna, the world is known as false. And the rope also is not an exception. Thus, rope is true till the attainment of supreme knowledge. So, vyavaharaka. So, that which appears and is negated in the trans-empirical stage is vyavaharika sat. That which is negated in the empirical stage is pratibhashika sat, and that which is never negated is paramarthik sat. So it is clear that paramarthik is the highest order of truth, then comes vyavaharika, and pratibhashika follows it. Now, a section of scholars is of the opinion that below pratibhashik there is another entity which is known as tuchhashat or alikashat. But it is impossible since the objects like Akash Kushum or Bandhasuta are never experienced under any circumstance. Thus, this is rejected outright, and such mythical objects are never called Sat or existent. Now, Chit. Now, according to other philosophers, the existence may mean both conscious and inert entities. In that case, the term Sat may be over-pervasive to the case of inert objects or inert entities like clay, thread, etc. To overcome this difficulty, Brahman is defined as jnana or chit or consciousness also. Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya says, Karanasya mridvat achit rupata cha praptaha jnanam brahmeti. The term chit does not mean the act of knowing or jnatri, but it means knowledge itself. Why? Because the Siddhanta is, if Brahman is said to be knowing itself, then it will make Brahman both the subject and the object of knowledge. In that case, we have to face the difficulty of karmakatri virodha, which is actually not possible. Hence, Brahman is conceived as of the nature of consciousness itself. From this, we can say that Brahman is self-luminous or swaprakash. Again, in empirical field, knowledge is always seen finite. So when Brahman is defined as Jnanam Brahma, it may be thought that it is finite. To avoid this, Brahman is further characterized by Anantam. Bhashya says, Praptam Anantatvam Jnanasya Anantavatvam Darshanat Atha Aho Anantam. So we have discussed it while discussing the derivative meaning of the word quote unquote Brahman. Now the fourth one, Ananda. Brahman is frequently stated in the scriptures as bliss, Anandam Brahman. Bliss is the sense of fullness or highest pleasure, which can be attained only by self-revelation. But unlike the worldly bliss, the bliss of Brahman is unsurpassable. So, Bhashya says, Anandam Brahmano Vidvan no bibheti kutaschit. That means, knowing the bliss of Brahman, the man fears nothing. Now, we will raise some problems. Apparently, in propositions like Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, etc., the terms like Satya, Jnana, etc., functions as Visheshan of Brahman, functions as Visheshan. But Advaiti will say that that which distinguishes an object from similar, that is Sajatiya Vastu, are Visheshanas. In the present case, the terms Satyadi are meant to distinguish Brahman not only from Sajatiya Vastu, but also from Vijatiya Vastu. So, Satyadi cannot, Satyadi etc. are not Visheshanas, but they are Lakshan of Brahman. Now, if they are Lakshan of Brahman, the problem will be how can the Swarupa or the essential property or the essential nature of Brahman be regarded as the definition of Brahman? Because firstly, a definition possesses some special attributes or dharmas of the thing defined, which distinguish it from others. Secondly, the definition must be different from the essence of the thing defined. Therefore, the very essence of the object defined cannot be taken as the definition. So, Satyadi, Sat, Chit, Ananda, etc., being the very essence of Brahman, cannot act as a definition. So, what will be the reply? In reply, we may say, it is true that there is no difference between the essential definition and the object defined. Still, to teach a Madhyamadhikari, some Kalpita Bheda is to be assumed. The word Brahman may be taken as the Laksha and Satyadi may be assumed as its Lakshana. In reality, these attributes form the very nature of Brahman and are not different from it. But being reflected in the mental moods, that is vrittis, they appear to be different from Brahman. Padmapadacharya says, Ananda Vishayanubhava Nityatyam iti santi dharma aprithakatveyopi chaitanyat prithakeva abhabhasanti. So, he says that Ananda, bliss, Vishayanubhava, that means cognition or knowledge, and Nityatta, eternity, are the attributes. They may appear as different from Brahman, though actually they are not different. Now we will move to Tatastha Lakshan. Tatastha Lakshan is defined as Kadachit Katre Sati Vyavartakam. That which remains in the object only for the time being and distinguishes it from the assembling objects is called Tatastha Lakshan. Still, Tatastha Lakshan is not a Visheshana. First of all, it is not a Visheshana, nor constitute the essence of the said object. But it can distinguish the object from other objects. For example, it's well-known example, the house on which a crow is sitting is the house of Devadatta, Takavad Griham. Here, crow is not the Visheshan of the house, because it does not remain on the house for all time, nor does the crow constitute the essence of the house. Still, for the time being, the crow can differentiate the house from the other houses. Hence, the Tatastha Lakshana of the house, it is the Tatastha Lakshana of the house of Devadatta. Taittiriya Upanishad defines Brahman through Tatastha Lakshana by establishing the causality of the world. And the well-known mantra of Taittiriya Upanishad is Yato vaimani bhutani jayante yena yatani jivanti yat prayatna abhisangvishanti tad vijijñāsā tat brahmeti. So, Yato vaimani bhutani, from where the world is originated, yeno yatani jivanti, by which it is sustained, and yat prayatna, and in which it returns in the dissolution, is Brahman. This is equivalent to the Brahma Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yata. Brahman is supreme entity who has the capacity to create, to maintain, and to destroy this entire world, which is of a varied nature. The most intelligent and powerful human being with much strength can hardly know it fully well. But it is impossible for anyone to create sea, mountain, etc. Brahman not only creates the world, but also maintains and destroys whenever he deems it fit and necessary. Thus, it transpires that one who can perform this most difficult task is Brahman. Now, the sutra Janmadhyasya Yata is not an inference, because there is a debate between Nayayik and Advaita. It is not an inference meant to prove the existence of Brahman or Ishwar. Because according to Nayayikas, the existence of Ishwar is inferred from its being the cause of the world. Khityam kuradikam shakartikam, etc. But the Advaita Vedantins oppose this view. According to them, Janmadi Karanatta is only an accidental definition of Brahman. It is not a pramana or for the existence of God. Why? Because if we accept this as a proof, then inference will become the primary means of knowing Brahman. In that case, Shruti will become secondary. Not only that, Nirguna and Advaita Brahman, which is also Swaprakash and Svatasiddha, cannot be object of any pramana. We will discuss it separately in a separate section. Even Shruti cannot, this is very important, even we will discuss it in a separate section. Even Shruti cannot establish Brahman directly. In the last portion, we will discuss it. They only establish Brahman through implication. So I have quoted a verse from Śaṅkara Sharira. Janmadi lakshanam idam jagato jaduktam sad brahmanastad iha chinhatopadishtam nasmin pramanam apare punaretad brahma pramanam anumanam udiran rayanti. Now, an objection may be raised that this definition is too narrow, because when Brahman creates, he does not maintain, nor does he destroy. Similarly, when he destroys, he neither creates nor maintains, etc. So this definition is not always applicable to Brahman. So Tatastha Lakshan is not always applicable to Brahman. How can this definition be accepted? This is an objection. In reply, we may say that, first of all, Tatastha Lakshana is a kind of incomplete or imperfect definition. Suppose in a full moon night, a mother says to her child, Shakhagra Chandrama, that which remains over the branch of the mango tree is moon. Now the child understands from the statement of his mother that the big round-shaped shining object is moon. Thus, the purpose of mother is served. The child can understand the moon to the exclusion of the other objects. But this reply of mother is defective, because above the tree there may be a kite, there may be a big bird sitting, or something else. None of these is the moon. Still, the child understands what the moon is. Temporarily, this defective definition is sufficient for the child's understanding. It is important for the child's understanding, balanang budhanaya, child's understanding. But a sensible man, Uchadhikari, is never satisfied with this inaccurate definition. This kind of incomplete and imperfect definition becomes important in certain circumstances where the perfect definition is generally not intelligible to the person for whom it is said, or is not easily understood at the first step owing to the abstruseness of the object. While a person fails to understand Brahman by listening to Svarupa Lakshana, have to remain satisfied temporarily with the Tatastha Lakshana. So, a Tatastha Lakshana either becomes too narrow or too wide, but these defects are ignored owing to the abstruseness of the definition, owing to the abstruseness of the object. Secondly, in general, so what is the task of a definition? We have to know it. In general, the task of a definition is not to point out the essential nature of the definiendo, nor to show the relation between the samga, that is word, and the samgi, that is its meaning, but to distinguish the object from other objects. This is the purpose of a definition. Even in case of a Svarupa Lakshana, even the Svarupa Lakshana has got its significance in Vyabhritti. The Tatastha Lakshana of Brahman is also meant for distinguishing it from Abrahma, or from all objects other than Brahman. Madhusud, I have quoted some lines from Shara Sangraha Tika written by Acharya Madhusudan Saraswati on Sankhep Shariraka. So here Saraswati Pad says, Asya Shamikshitasya Jagata Janmadi Janmasthiti Bhangam Tat Karanatvam Jad Brahmana Bachya Bachaka Yuja Siddhyo Na Abhyat Napi idang lakshana vakyam brahmana swarupa bodhana parang tadarthang sat sanketitang kintu asya brahmana sarvasmat abrahma padarthato vyabhritta siddhaye iti sambandha. So abrahma padarthato vyabhritta siddhaye. Now, after discussing two types of lakshanas of Brahman, it may appear that there are two sets of vakas in Upanishads. One speaks of the Nirguna, Nishkriya, and Akhanda Brahman, whereas which may be the laksha of Sarupa Lakshana, and another set of passages speaks of Brahman as Saguna, Shakriya, or endowed with infinite super qualities like omniscience, omnipotence, etc., which is the laksha of Tatastha Lakshana. Now, the problem is, what is the real nature of Brahman? Is Brahman qualityless, actionless, etc., or is endowed with qualities, actions, etc.? In reply, we may say that Brahman is essentially nirguna. It appears to be Shaguna only when it is endowed with Maya. Not only that, our view is the significance of all the Saguna Vakya of Upanishads lies in the Nirguna Brahma. So, Vakyani, I have quoted from Śaṅkara Bhashya. Vakyani nishprapancha brahma tattva pratipadakani. So the entire Ved says about Nirguna Brahma, na arthantara pradhana. So the significance of all Saguna passages lies in Nirguna Brahma. Accordingly, the Shruti Vakyas on Saguna Brahma has two importance or two purposes. One is about Brahman associated with Maya, which is false, and the other is about pure Brahman devoid of all limitations, which is real. Of these two purposes, that of Shaguna Brahman is only secondary or avantara. The knowledge of Saguna Brahman does not give rise to liberation. It only helps the sadhaka to attain the highest state of Nirguna Brahman through Chitta Siddhi, through Chitta Shuddhi, through Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Amalananda says, I have quoted from Vedanta Kalpataru, Amalananda says, Nirbishesham parang brahma shakshat kartum anishvaraha ye mandasta anukampyane savisheshana nirupanahi. So the meaning is the dull-witted person who are incapable to realize the Advaita Brahma, Nirgun, Nisprapancha Brahman, are favored by the conception of Shaguna. Hence, Shaguna Brahman is postulated to felicitate the Mandadhikari to attain the Nirguna Brahman through the Upasana of Saguna Brahman. Now, how much time is left, sir? I can't hear you.
Around 20-25 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Now, the problem of Pramana about Brahma. In this section, we are not going to discuss the problem of Pramana in detail. We shall first deal with the nature and varieties of Pramana as given by Advaita Vedantins. And then we shall concentrate on the Pramana which is related to Brahma or Brahmajnana. The instrument of valid knowledge is Pramana. In a famous book named Advaita Ratna Raksha of Acharya Madhusudan Saraswati, Acharya Saraswati Pada defines Pramana as that which gives rise to the knowledge of something which is not known before. So, Agyatartha Gantritva. Following Bhatta tradition, some people adds another term, quote unquote, abadhita, that is non-contradicted, to this definition to avoid the charge of over-pervasion, ativyapti, to illusion. But Saraswati Pada shows that the term abadhita is redundant in the definition. Because just like pain, pleasure, cognition, etc., Ajnana also does not have any Ajnata Satta or unknown state. Thus, Ajnana cannot exist without being known. So, Ajnana is Jnataika Shat, just like Jnana, Sukha, and Dukkha. Now, that is to say, Ajnana is not Anadhigata. So, Ajnana is Adhigata. As knowledge is an effect of Ajnana, it is also not Anadhigata. So, it is not at all necessary to include Abadhitatva in the definition. The Ativyapti to illusory knowledge can be avoided by the term anadhigata only. Advaita Ratnaraksha says, Kincha Gyatartha Nishchayatmakatvam eva pramanyam asmat pakshe tatcha sarvatra anugatam. So this lakshan can be applicable in all the cases. Sarvatra anugatam. Brahmajijñāsāpi tatharupatvat nacha brahme ativyapti. So this is the view of Madhusudana Saraswati. Now, in Vyavahara Bhattanaya, now in Vyavahara, the Advaita Vedantins follow the way of Bhatta. 6 pramanas: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthapatti, and Anupadanti. Accordingly, the Advaitins also accept these pramanas. However, in case of Brahman, none of these pramanas except the Sabda pramana is applicable. The Advaita Vedantins unanimously hold that Veda, which is regarded as a revealed text, is the only pramana for Brahman. Taittiriya Shruti says, Na Veda bin manute tvang brihantam. The meaning is, none who has not understood the Vedas can know the great one, that is, can know the Brahman. Bhashyakara also holds that Agama is the exclusive means of Brahma Sakshatkara. Shastrat eva pramanach jagato janmadikaradam brahmhari gamyate. On this point, the Mimamsaks are the main opponent of Advaita Vedanta. The Mimamsakas say the sentence which speak of existent entity, that is Siddha Vastu, are not independent, are not independent pramanas. They are only anuvadakas or corroboration of all other pramanas. Similarly, Brahman being an existent entity, that is, Brahman is Siddha Vastu. I have said it in the introductory part of my lecture. Brahman being a Siddha Vastu is an object of other pramans also. This is the view of Purva Mimamsa philosophers. So, the Upanishad Bhakyas that establishes Brahman are anuvadakas of other pramanas. Thus, Shruti is neither the only pramana nor an independent pramana of Brahman. Now, this objection is not tenable because an existent entity is not necessarily an object of perception or inference or shabda, etc. It is only the object possessing form, color, etc. can be the object of perception or inference. Now, Brahman is devoid of form, taste, color, etc. It cannot be the object of perception or the object of inference. Why? Because Brahman, being formless and qualityless, cannot be known by perception. Perception presupposes a sense-object contact, indriyartha sannikarsha. and a sensible object must possess some form. But Brahman is devoid of any form. Shruti says, asthulam, ananu, arhasham, adirgham, etc. So Brahman cannot be the object of perception. Now, Brahman, not being an object of perception, cannot known by inference also. Since perceptive knowledge of the linga and the vyapti between the linga and the lingi, or linga and the sadhya, hetu and the sadhya, is a precondition of anumana. The Shruti also asserts that the knowledge of Brahman is not attainable by tarka or anumana. The famous Shruti of Kathopanishad is Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. Again, another thing is, according to Acharya Śaṅkara, taken independently has no validity in the case of the world cause. For Anumana itself is unstable. This is the view of Acharya Śaṅkara. There are differences among the thinkers of different schools. They refute the view of each other by means of their respective inferences. Hence, only those inferences which are in accordance with the Shruti, Shrutyanukula. So, the inferences which are in accordance with the Shruti are to be regarded as valid, are to be accepted. That means inference by itself cannot be a pramana in case of Brahman. Shrutyanukula anumana can serve as a pramana for Brahman. Now, upamana. What about upamana? Upamana is also not applicable in case of Brahman. Why? For upamana depends on the knowledge of similarity, sanga sangi jnanam, shadrishya jnanam, similarity between two things. But there is no other object which may be regarded as similar to Brahman. We have said that Brahman is devoid of Shajatiya, Vijatiya, and Sagata Bheda. So there is no other object which is similar to Brahman. Arthapatti is also not a pramana in the case of Brahman. Why? Because for in Arthapatti, something about the object must be known beforehand. But we have no prior knowledge about Brahman. And the last one is Anupalabdhi. By Anupalabdhi, we can know only the non-existence or abhava of something. So it cannot applied to prove the existence of Brahman. So by Anupalabdhi, the existence of, so also by Anupalabdhi, the existence of Brahman cannot be proved. Now, on the other hand, the real nature of Brahman as not different with the Jivatma cannot be known from any other source except Shruti. So Shruti is regarded as the pramana of Brahman. Shastra deva iti brahmatma bhavasya shastram antarena anavagamya manatva. So the Shruti is to be regarded as the only pramana in case of Brahman. Another question may be raised here. The Advaitins emphatically declares that the self declares the self-luminosity or svaprakashatva of Brahman. Not only that, Brahman is also regarded as self-evident, that is Svatasiddha. So Brahman is Svaprakash as well as Svatasiddha. Now, if it is said that Brahman is manifested by the Vedas, then its Svaprakashatva and Shatasiddhatva will be contradicted. In reply, we may offer two arguments. Firstly, though the second argument will follow from the first argument, still the first argument is Brahman is self-luminous or Svaprakasha only to the person having knowledge of Paramarthika Svarupa or transcendental reality. While to the beings confined to the empirical sphere, it is not so. And it is for these beings belonging to the empirical sphere that Brahman is said to be known from the Shruti. I have quoted a line from Brahmasiddhi. Avidyavatāṃ tu tādāmnayoika nibandhanam uchyate. The second argument is, it will follow from the first argument. From the transcendental point of view, that is from the Paramarthika Drishti, Shruti etc. are also regarded as the product of avidya. Saraswati Pada in his Advaita Ratna Raksha have shown that the avidya sarupatva of Shruti, Sriti, Itihasha, Purana, etc. Now, if Shruti is said to be the product of avidya, then how can Brahman be expressed by the Vedas? Our reply is, Brahman can only be revealed by aparakshanava. While explaining the distinction between Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, Bhashyakara said, I have quoted Śaṅkara Bhashya, no Brahmajijñāsāyam iva Shrutyādaya eva pramanam Brahmajijñāsāyam. Kintu Shrutyādaya Anubhavādayascha Yathasambhavamiha pramana Anubhavavasānatvat Bhutavastu Vishayatvat Brahmagyādasya. Kartavyehi Vishaye na Anubhavapeksha asti iti Shrutyādinam eva pramanyam syat. Purushadhino atmalabhat cha kartavyasya. So what is the meaning? In case of dharma jigyasa, in Purva Mimamsa, in case of dharma jigyasa, Shruti alone can be the means of right knowledge. But in case of Brahma Jigyasa, Shrutyādaya Anubhavādayascha, in case of Brahma Jigyasa, it is not that the Shruti alone is the pramana, but the scriptures, as also intuitional experiences, Shrutyādaya Anubhavādayascha, so far as possible, Jathasambhavamiha, constitute the valid means of knowledge, pramana. Why? Two hetu, he gives two hetus. First one is Anubhavavasānatvat, and the next one is Bhutavastu Vishayatvacha, because the knowledge of Brahman culminates in the realization of Brahman, Anubhavavasānatvat. So, aparakshanupati. Not only that, Brahman has an already existing entity, Bhuta Vastu Vishayatvat. So it is Siddha Vastu. It has an already existing entity as its object. But in case of Dharma Jigyasa, there is no expectation of Anubhava. So, Dharma Jigyasa depends on the agent. Kartum, akartum, annatha kartum. I can do it. I may not do it. I can do it in some other manner. So, kartum, akartum, annatha kartum. Scriptures alone can be the pramanas, and action is dependent upon the man for its origin. So it is Purusha Tantra. So the Purva Mimamsa, entire Purva Mimamsa is Purusha Tantra. But the jnana or knowledge is not Purusha Tantra. It does not depend on the man for its origin, but it depends on the vastu, on the object. Whereas jnana is not Purusha Tantra, it does not depend upon the man for its origin. It is Vastu Tantra. So, in case of Brahman, Shruti and Vidvad Anubhav both can be offered as the Pramana. So I stop here. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, Shiva vastu.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your talk on first the attempt to give a definition of Brahman, and then also the problems and prospects of giving pramanas for Brahman, and ultimately Anubhava is considered the the main pramana of Brahma. So thank you very much. So I would like to request our participants, if they have any questions or clarifications to ask, please come forward. This is a very important topic of Advaita Vedanta, and all the different possible ways of formulating the definition of Brahman, and the inadequacies of some of these definitions, etc. These have been discussed by Professor Ghosal. So please come forward if you have any clarifications to ask or questions to ask.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is regarding Swarupa Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. The Shastrakaras, when they are saying something about Swarupa Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana, are these they are saying from their internal observation? I mean, what they have actually perceived or achieved through their sadhana, or these things, Tatastha Lakshana, Swarupa Lakshana, is purely logical deduction?
Actually, these lakshanas are a logical deduction. We cannot define Brahman. I have said it, but still, for Manda Adhikari and for Madhyama Adhikari, we have to say something. We have to define Brahman. The entire Shruti says Brahma Satyam. Only Brahman is the real entity. So the question will be, what is Brahman? If I say Brahman is Avang Manasya Gochara, then it will do nothing. So we have to teach Brahman. And for teaching Brahman, we have to take help of definitions. This is the first thing. And the second thing is to give answer to the Purva Pakshi, the opponents, those who think that Brahman and Atman are not identical, they are different. To answer them, we have to offer definition of Brahman. And this definition are of two types, Swarupa Lakshan and Tatastha Lakshan. But actually, Brahman cannot be defined. Abhajanena eva pramacha. This is the answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question or clarification to ask? Preetam, I was wondering.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, according to Advaita Vedānta, Śaṅkara, in Brahma Sutra, they say that Brahman Sattva Jagata Mithya Jiva Brahma Na Paro. So, the world is actually false.
Not said in Brahma Sutra. It's not said in Brahma Sutra. It is said in Brahma Namabali Mala. It is a Prakaran Grantha written by Acharya Śaṅkara.
Okay. So, according to them, the world is appearance or false actually. So, scriptures, the Praman of Brahma, so scripture is included in this world. So,
Yes.
if I say that world is appearance or false, so how scriptures proves the existence of Brahman?
Yes, this I have discussed in the last portion of my lecture that Madhusudana Saraswati in his Advaita Ratnaraksha proved that even scripture is the product of avidya. So the scriptures or the Veda is also false. Actually, Advaiti cannot say that Veda is Nitya. If they say this, then they will then there will be the problem of Dvaitapatti. Brahman is Advaita, Brahman is true, and scripture is also true. Then the Pratigya, Brahma Satyam will be false. So anything other than Brahman is actually false. So scripture cannot prove Brahman. Brahman is only proved. Brahman can only be proved by Vidvad Anubhava or by Aparaksha Anubhava or by immediate awareness. Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. So you have to know Brahman, and when you have come to know Brahma, you have become Brahman. You have become identical with Brahman. So scripture
Thank you so much.
not Brahman, because scripture is also false. This is the Siddhanta of Advaita.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you very much.
What I was going to say, Preetam, I mean, is it right to think that the entire corpus of Upanishadic literature, along with its commentaries, okay, they are all kind of self-negating. They all somehow try to hint at the ultimate reality, but then they themselves do not constitute in a positive way the source of the knowledge of that ultimate reality.
Okay, I don't think so. Rather, I think it is very positive. The neti paddhati, or the way neti is primarily it is a negation. It is negating that Brahman is not this, not that. Actually, since Brahman is inexpressible, we have to, if we want to speak about Brahman, we have to speak it negatively. So this is the method of Shruti, but I think it is not that it is self-denying. It is not self-denying. Actually, by this method, I am trying to search the nature of myself. First, I have to, because the famous book Advaita Siddhi starts with the famous line, Tatra Advaita Siddhe Dvaita Mithatva Siddhi Purvakatva. Dvaitamithaptvatvat. Dvaitamithatvamev pratamam upapadaniyam. So we have to prove the falsity of entire world to prove the paramarthika satta of Brahman. So this is my observation. You may differ from me, but
no, that's okay. Any other question or comments?
Sir,
clarifications?
I have another short question.
Yes, please.
Sir, the path to reach Brahman according to Advaita Vedānta, is it purely the path to reach Brahman or to have Brahmanubhuti? Is it purely the path of knowledge or purely the path of devotion, or the both are there?
No, according to Śaṅkara, jnana karma samuccaya, he rejects jnana karma samuccaya vada. So if you follow the view of Śaṅkara, Brahma can be attained only by knowledge or only by jnana. There is no connection with jnana and karma.
Sir, that knowledge will come from scripture or self-intuition, introspection?
Firstly, from scripture, because you have to, there are three methods. First, Shravana, and Shravana is from the scripture. From you have to search a guru, and from guru you have to hear Tattvamasya, Ayam Brahmasmi. After that, you have to meditate on it, and by this meditation, you will know Brahman. You will be identical with Brahman. So finally, aparakshanubhuti will. Finally, you have to know Brahman by aparakshanubhuti only.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other question or clarification to ask? Okay, so in that case, let us end this session by extending our sincere thanks to Professor Ghosal for a very interesting, very lucid talk about some of the key ideas of Śaṅkaracharya's Advaita Vedānta. So thank you very much, Professor Ghosal, for being with us.